You're the only one arrogant and insane enough to hunt a goddess? Rowan shucked off his boots. Because I'm the only one arrogant and insane enough to ask Mala Firebringer to let me stay with the woman I love.
Yay!
Hey everybody, this is Kat.
And this is Rachel.
And you're listening to the Smut Peddlers podcast, a show for people who love books, especially when there's smut. We discuss our likes, our dislikes, and share all our favorite moments with you.
Today we're talking about Empire of Storms and Tower of Dawn by Sarah J. Maas, so grab your favorite beverage and get ready to burn with us. This is part 7 of our tandem read through Empire of Storms and Tower of Dawn. We are reading in the romantic order. Today we're going to be covering Empire of Storms chapters 33 to 41. Just Empire of Storms today. Got a big section this episode and next episode also. Just a big chunk of Empire of Storms. Nothing terrifying or tragic or scary is happening at all.
No, absolutely not.
No, everything's
not.
super chill and fine, and good vibes. Good vibes are happening.
Recap, like she said, no Tower of Dawn today. So, recap of Elide and Lorcan. They're traveling with the troupe and trying to get... Elide's trying to get over to Terracin. Lorcan, I'm not fully sure where he wants to go, but he's trying to find things. So he's getting information from Elide along the way. Our dream team is in Skulls Bay. They know that Rolfe's map works now. However, they still don't have him on their side quite yet. So fingers crossed. We also found out that Eyllwe is pretty much about to be attacked. Morath troops are kind of everywhere, along with Maeve's troops are also kind of over there. So they're forming a barrier around Eyllwe, which is not great. Aedion has finally met Gavriel, which went so well.
Hi, Dad.
Aedion really loves him, and they're going to be best friends now. That's definitely how that's going to work. Aedion definitely did not yell at him at all. Sarcasm for those listening. Yeah, Aedion's not thrilled. He went off about his mother to Gavriel, and so Gavriel was pretty
definitely
speechless.
Blames him for his mom's death for sure.
Yes. Manon, we haven't seen her in a while.
Fuck if we know what's going on with Manon.
Manon is still out in the world with Abraxos, dying, as much as we're aware. That's kind of it.
Abraxos has got her. It'll be fine.
Yeah. So, that's our recap, and now we go into Empire of Storms. I'm very excited. This section was very fun to read.
I was waiting. You are a big fan of, you like the action-packed stuff. It's one of the reasons why we differ in which ACOTAR book is our favorite book. My favorite is the second book, Mist and Fury, which is definitely the more emotional of the two of them, and then Wings and Ruin, which is the third book, is yours because it was freaking action packed, fast paced.
I read it in 4 days.
And you were telling me when you started reading this, you were like, I can't stop. This section is the where the action really gets going.
Yeah.
Doesn't really stop for the next however many fucking chapters we gotta read.
Yeah, I read this section and I started going ahead, and I'm like, we gotta do it. I can't wait.
It's a good thing that we're recording today because I don't expect the next section to take you very long. You're gonna have the next section done by Tuesday. We record on Sundays, so for context.
Yeah.
It'll be fast.
It'll be fun.
But yeah, so as she said in the recap, Eyllwe has no standing army. So the fact that it is surrounded currently to be attacked is one of Aelin's worst nightmares. And it's extremely evident to both her and Rowan that it's specifically a message directed at Aelin, that Erewhon can basically at the drop of a hat just put all of his forces in place to attack the things that are most important to her. And that even if she can get to Rowan and Dorian to save them, she can't be everywhere all at once.
Yeah.
And he knows so much about her because he was Parrington, and he knows a lot about Selena and everything that happened, that he knows how much Eyllwe means to her, and that's why it's being attacked.
Yeah, scary. It's definitely directly tied to Nehemia, our love. It makes me so sad.
It, like, every single time Nehemia comes up, it makes, like, my heart breaks.
Yeah.
She's such a good character. I think it's also, like, it's such good writing that a character that you really only get for, like, 2 or 3 books. Dude, this is book 5, and she is still, like, a big part of the story. It comes up over and over and over again. I just think it's such clever writing, and she did such a good job of, like, having that character win our love so quickly and effectively that, like, still now I'm like, God, Nehemia, please. It hurts so much. More callbacks happen in this chapter, which is so cool. She remembers some life debts that she's owed, which is a callback to the assassin and the Red Desert. Oh, why can't I think of her last name now? Briarcliff,
yeah.
So she like, Briarcliff comes up really briefly. It's kind of just like a single line, and then kind of like they move on and don't really talk about it too much. But they're all nervous now because they were in this, they went to go see Rolfe to get his allegiance, and then their plan was to like go to try to get to the north to get the allegiance of like Melisande and Eyllwe. And now that all of those places are surrounded, they cannot get to or help another group of people who were meant to be another ally that they were going to pick up.
Yeah, they've pretty much lost their ability to ally with the North.
Yeah, because they just can't get to them. And also there's a real possibility that they could just get wiped out before they could even get to them.
Yeah.
So she's kind of thinking about all of the other life debts that she has. She thinks of Ansel of Briarcliff as one of those, and then kind of just moves on from that.
I highlighted
Definitely gonna come back up again.
I just highlighted that whole section of like Briarcliff, the name clanged through her, shuddered her awake, and she realized they'd been talking, debating how such an army might move so quickly. It literally is just like she thinks of Ansel for like a millisecond and then gets right back into what they're talking about. And I was just like, excuse me? What's this about?
Yeah.
But
at the same time, that's what she does constantly, where she thinks about something and then puts together an entire plot in her head so someone at all, and then it just gets
we'll find out probably
like 10
chapters from now.
75 chapters from now. Dear God, that's possible.
Not.
We do have a whole nother book that we have to read after this, so I think we have 75 chapters still left to read.
Yeah, she kind of looks at the map in the section because they're obviously in the south. We have Kale and Nezrin are in the southern continent too. So like everybody is now in the south of their map. I don't know if we have an image of the southern continent or if we just get
no, the southern continent is not depicted. This.
Yeah. So they're still on. So they're on what is referred to as the northern continent.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But Eyllwe is
so they
also
are
part of the
in
northern
the south
continent.
Of the northern continent. Eyllwe, Fenharrow, Melisande is north of them.
Yes.
Wait. No, Eyllwe is south of where they are currently.
Eyllwe is south. Oh, you're right.
Yeah, Eyllwe is south of them, but Fenharrow... Oh, okay, that's why there's an issue. Okay, so everything is blocked off from the north from Morath, but the issue that they have south going towards the marshes is that's where Maeve's army is.
Yeah, they're all...
So Maeve is south of them. Everyone else, all the other bad guys, are north. We still don't know. Maeve is, like, unaccounted for as to whether she's, like, good or bad right now. We think she's bad. We don't trust her.
I think it's their ground forces. Is their ground forces what went to Eyllwe and Melisande?
They have created kind of like a wall. So
yeah,
she did a thing, and so from Morath, Melisande, Fenharrow, they had tiny little like things to create a wall. So it would be their land legion, I guess, all the way across to Fenharrow, or technically it would be Melisande up to Rifthold, which then makes a line just north of Fenharrow.
Yeah. They've basically got all of the land access. Like, they're getting pushed lower and lower and lower.
Yeah.
And further away. So, like, they're all the way down at the bottom tip, basically, of the northern continent. And at this point, like, to get from Skulls Bay to the Stone Marshes, they're probably going to have to, like...
deal with Maeve.
Sail around. Or they're going to just have to try to get... right through, but all of their forces are around in there, so
yeah,
it's not.
There's a lot of not great things. Briarcliff, for reference, is northwest of them, so it's the.
But it is on
it's like near the.
It's
wastes.
on the opposite side of like a huge mountain range. So in theory, if they can like get around to the Stone Marshes, Briarcliff could technically come down south because Briarcliff is north of the Stone Marshes on the opposite side of that mountain range. So they could still come down and help and then come back up through the south with them. But they're having this conversation, and Aylin is like ends up having to be like so cold-blooded in this conversation with Rolfe. She basically is she's like reveals that Rolfe is the heir of the Mycenaean people. And he's like, I don't know what you're talking about. Disagree. And she's like, you dragon, the big ship you have over there? Like, what the fuck are you talking about? The sea dragon? The thing that's like the mascot for the Mycenaean people? You want to try that one again? Be more subtle, my dude. Come on.
Her line in this is hilarious. She goes, she says that you're the heir, and then he didn't move, he didn't blink, he didn't like admit to anything. She goes, or were all the sea dragon references some personal fetish?
I just was like, buddy. Like, it would be cool if you like weren't Mycenaean and it was like, yeah, I think sea dragons are dope. But then like, if you're the heir and you're trying to hide that you're the heir, like don't do like the one thing that's gonna call you out as like, isn't that like, you know, the thing that they really worship or like find at like that's their special shtick is the,
it's like the owls dragons are the Torre and the sea dragons are the Mycenaeans.
Their whole thing is like the Mycenaeans will return when sea dragons are like back in the waters again. And the man has literally got his ship called a sea dragon. Like, okay, we can see the parallels. She called you on it. Just fucking own up to it. She basically like sends out a wave of magic, releases some of her magic in this conversation to intimidate him, which is what she says it is in the beginning. Bitch.
Well, at the beginning she says that. So Rowan,
she just like, is like, I have to release some of my power.
Yeah. She's like, she's been pulling power up to like store it just in case we're attacked, and like if we have too much power, we have to like release it in little doses so we don't like explode within ourselves. And Rowan's like, she just has a lot of power.
She's got a lot of power. She's got to let it loose every once in a while. She just like released a calling card basically to
the Vogue.
Anyone who can detect magic. Who can detect magic? The Vogue. Who would come fucking running when they detect any sort of fire magic? Because there's only one fucking person in this universe right
There's
now.
only one fire-breathing bitch queen.
True. So, of course, they all come running. They're like, great, found her, gotta go get her. Which Rolfe immediately senses because he's got a magic map on his arms. Mm-hmm. So he sees them coming and blames her. And she's like, I don't know what you're talking about.
She's like, but I'm going to leave now.
But also, I'm going to go. And he's like, what the fuck? You're going to just leave all of my people here? She says yes in this moment, which I thought was like, ugh, I hate it. And I feel like she's going to have an internal dialogue about how much she hated having to do this later. But she's like, this is the first time that I get like that, oh yes, she has to be like this cold queen calculating.
And Rolfe knows what she's doing. He knows that she has manipulated the situation. And so he tries to like pull a fast one and brings up Sam, which really like hit me in my core because we love Sam. And so he pretty much says, do you think Sam would stand for this? Like, do you think Sam would stand for you letting my people die? And her response to him, which is how we know she has to like put on this like Selena mask, like this mask of like, I don't give a shit. She says, Sam is dead because men like you and Arabin have power, but Arabin's reign is over now. She smiled at the darkening horizons. Seems like yours might end rather soon as well.
It's so good.
She's like, oh God. She pretty much says, I can do without your armada or with them. Like, if you're gonna be a coward and not want to call like on your people and like be like bring your Mycenaean people back together and like form an army, then fine, I'll do it without you. Just like, oh. He then, of course, after Dorian and Aylin say that like, we can offer you these things if you help us. He says, he pretty much says like, I want to be king of this thing. I want this, I want this, I want this. And she goes, you can have this, this, and this, and that is all. I'm just like, hee. Dorian, of course, agrees. He's like, yeah, king of Otterland here. Also, yeah, cool, you can have it. Great.
I also like that when he finally agrees, they shake hands. And it says, tattooed skin met scarred flesh as Rolfe shook her hand. Hard enough to break bones, but she did it right back, sending a little flame searing into his fingers. He hissed, pulling his hand back, and Aylin grinned. Welcome to Her Majesty's army, Privateer Rolfe. She gestured to the open door. Shall we? So good. The next line is literally, Aylin was insane, Dorian realized. Brilliant and wicked, but insane.
Oh, so good.
So it's perfect. So it's fighting time.
Yeah, they're gonna go. The idea, Aylin's giving orders. We're all kind of moving. She pretty much says, Rolfe, man your people, because they know how to work together. So Rolfe kind of goes off and gets ships ready. And she is like, Dorian, I need you to do this. Rowan, I need you to do this. She's like, we're going to take the Sea Dragon and us collection, including Fenris and Gavriel, the like dream team of Fae, semi-Fae people, are going to be in the center of it all.
The way that people get split up is basically like Rowan, Aylin, Fenris, and Gavriel, and Lysandra all go on, like, they're gonna basically, like, go on the ship. Like, they're kind of grouped together. Aedion is sent to one watchtower that's, like, closer to where the battle basically is going to be.
Yeah, where the spears
Aylin
are.
is, like, right, and he's gonna man, like, a big, like,
the same tower that, like, collapsed with Sam. Like, it's that tower. And then Dorian goes to the other side.
Dorian gets sent to the other tower, and I love this part so much. Dorian's, like, he's sent to the tower that's, like, the safe tower. Like, is not going to be really, like, super involved in the battle. It's, like, you know, if they get to that tower, they're fucked. So, like, he's safe over there. And Dorian's like, what the fuck? Like, why won't you're going out there to fight, not me? And Aylin says, one of us has to survive. Like, he's pissed because he wants to be involved in the fighting, and like she's putting herself first, and she's like, you're a king, you have to like be safe, and Dorian's like, you're a queen. What are you doing? But I love her comment is so right, of like, one of us has to get out of here alive right now. It's 100% the right decision to make. Aylin is the more powerful one. She's ready. She's had more training. She's got more control over her power. And I think that she's like, I was so on board with this decision. And I'm glad Dorian really didn't fight her too much on it after she said it. Because it's like,
it was like it clicked.
One of them has to live. Like, if they're both dead, they're fucked.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, at least if Dorian's alive, they can do something. Mm-hmm. So it's just like, good, Dorian, go sit in that corner over there, please. Like, one of you has to be safe right now.
Yeah, the way it ends up working is that Rowan and Aylin, like, their powers, they can obviously combine their powers because they're Karanon. And so they can kind of do their thing at the front. And Dorian is, like, at this point, the last resort before the Volk hit the city of Skull's Bay.
Yeah.
So, like,
and she gives him like Damaris too.
Yeah, it feels like she's
so good.
I think to him it felt like she's saying that I need to be at the front line and you need to like keep yourself safe. But for me, it felt like you can see what's coming. If you can be our last line of like protection if shit hits the fan. Because we need someone that is just as powerful in the back. Like, it's like a sandwich of power. Like, we need the two powerful people.
You have the front line, and then the back line still has to be powerful enough to, like, be the last line of defense.
Yeah. I pictured it that way, too. Yeah, I don't know.
What else?
So good.
What else happens with the Dream Team? What other great, sick, awesome, dope as fuck reveal happens?
So, in our last episode, we had this tiny little, like, remarks back and forth between Aedion and Lysandra.
Smallest little note.
Lysandra says, I have been working on something of nightmares to men. And she had been working on transforming into a sea dragon. So in this fight, she becomes a sea dragon to take on the sea wyvern. Or that's what they're, sea wyvern?
Yeah, sea wyvern.
That's what I had.
Yep.
Perfect. I was like, that's correct. Right? So
they have 2 sea wyverns. So like this fleet of ships is coming in.
Yeah.
And they, along with the fleet of ships, are 2 sea wyvern. They are twice the size of Lysandra as a sea dragon. But it's one of the reasons why they went to that temple. And like Aedion is like piecing this together in his head after he's like fucking seen her turn into a sea dragon, and everyone else on the ship is like, what the fuck just happened? And like all of Rolfe's people are like freaking out because a lot of them are also Mycenaean. So like they're having a very spiritual moment of like, the prophecy is coming true. The sea dragon is back and is here to help defend us. It's just also Lysandra, and it's fucking sick. And so like that's her thing. Her task is, she's got the sea wyverns, okay? She's the sea dragon. She's got to fight the sea wyverns because Aylin's fire doesn't do anything in fucking water, okay? So that's her task. And Aedion's up there with the manned harpoon, and of course, I don't know 100% what his goal was other than back up Lysandra.
Yeah.
And maybe shoot a ship with a harpoon cannon. I don't know.
To raise and lower that like chainmail thing that they have, Dorian and Aedion have to kind of like man those 2 towers to like get it to lower. There's only the like shooting equipment on the right tower that Aedion is in. And so if any of the ships get past them, so they're like mid line of defense. Like Aedion's still that like last line of defense with Dorian. They're kind of like equal in that point of like, if the ships get past us, you have 3 harpoons. You put 1 through each ship to take them down. And Dorian can deal with the water situation since he has ice. He can like deal with hopefully the wyverns if they also get past our first line of defense. So Aedion is terrified. He sees her shift, and all of the like people that are with him in that tower, like all of the like Rolfe's people that usually man the towers, are like, what the fuck is that? What is it? Oh my god, what is it? And Aedion is like, yeah, get your shit together. We have shit to do. Yeah, she's a sea dragon. It's fine. But also, he's terrified. We do get a small part of Lysandra's POV, like as it has shifted, she's underwater. She like takes a stand. It has her saying that she like stands on this like reef that's like right in front of the sea dragon. She sees the wyverns coming, and in her last like, I want to get to the line
It's like
itself.
the last line of the chapter.
Lysandra dug her bone-shredding curved talons into the reef shelf to hold her position against the current's nudging and peered into the silent blue stretching endless ahead. So she began her death vigil. Yes. Let's go, Lysandra. And she succeeds in her death vigil. She
Oh my god. She tears some
kicks
shit up.
ass.
I'm not gonna lie. Of all of the shit that happens in this, Lysandra is... She's MVP. She fucking gets all the awards, okay? She is... I don't give... We're gonna tell you about what Aylin does and everybody else. It doesn't matter. Lysandra does the coolest shit in this fucking fight scene.
Everyone fights. Lysandra does the most.
Lysandra goes to fucking war, my dude. It is wild.
Mm-hmm. There is one thing
so
I want to note before we like move past this little bit.
Yep.
Some of the setup as they're going into it. A big thing that Aylin had suggested. So Aylin has not... She realized in Mistward that like she tunneled down and almost hit burnout, but like she did not tunnel down to the extent of her magic. In her fight against the Volg when they attacked Mistward, so she was doing the little fire thing in Mistward where he was like practicing with her and she almost burnt out. That was her just like not realizing the end of her power, and she just kind of... It wasn't that she was gonna burn out, it was that she like gave herself to her power and wasn't grounding herself enough to like differentiate between herself and the fire itself that is her.
Yeah.
Our second she hits the like brink of her power was against the Volg when they attacked, and she was kind of by herself with the 3 like Volg princes that were around her, and she ends up killing them. She said that was like that was the furthest down her power has ever gone. And in that moment, she had a very hard time still being able to keep herself grounded. So in order to do that for her and Rowan, she has Rolfe bring some iron chains, which is like the one thing that like stops magic. We
Iron's
found out iron is like
deterrent for magic.
Yeah. So her and Rowan are holding on to these chains so that she can be able to say like, I can feel the chain biting my like into my skin because my magic is pumping through me. Like that chain will still act as like a zap, like, hey, you're still here. Like, hey, pay attention to the ground and pay attention to the things around you and like be in the moment so you're not like lost. She plows down even further. So she had like her first tier. Then she goes even further when she's at Mistward and there's that attack. And then in this moment, when she's starting to like pull power up, she realized that she could go even further, which is also wild. So like we haven't even seen like a third of the amount of power that she could possibly have.
When she looks back on it, like later, she calls it an antechamber. She calls like the first well that she hit an antechamber to the rest of it, which is wild because like people, the stories that came out of the first fight that she was in with her fire were like, oh my god, look at how powerful she's in. It's like, okay, well, that's an antechamber.
That's not even the full extent.
So she's been tunneling down into her power, and there's like a little exchange for her and Rowan of like, once again, it's obvious that she didn't tell Rowan everything about what she's fucking doing right now because he goes, you've been tunneling down into your power for days, haven't you? She's like, yeah. I wanted to make sure that, you know, if you were drained from fighting with Dorian, that like we'd be good. And he goes, I'll have you know I'm fine, thank you. Fully recovered. A-okay. But cool. So like, again, they're connected. So she gets to tunnel into her own power, and then she's basically got like all of his powers back up. So she's got 2 like full batteries worth
Yeah.
of magical power from 2 of the most powerful people that we've already seen up until this point.
Yeah, they do the like hand slice, hold hands, and like she is pulling power from him, like actively before they even get to that front line. So like in this moment, they're on the ship, they're up on the top deck, they're ready to do their thing, like they're ready to like fire out power. She's drawing from Rowan this entire time as she has pulled all her power up and now she's taking some of his too.
And the goal is like big fireball.
Yeah,
right into the center of their fleet.
The fuck out of here. However, of course shit has to hit the fan. Because it can't be that easy. It can't be that easy. It can't be like she can't just like her and Rowan be like fireball. They're dead now. Yeah. She, of course, is wearing the it's Orinth. What is it called?
Is it the Eye of Elena or the Amulet of Orinth?
Which the Amulet of Orinth. She's wearing the Amulet of Orinth.
Great.
And as we know, hidden inside the Amulet of Orinth is the word key, which is not great.
Super safe and very predictable, the way that thing works all the time.
Yeah. Absolutely nothing bad could possibly happen, except, the word key acts sort of like a little portal gate thing. And as she's pulling power from Rowan to charge up, our lovely friend Deanna shows up, who is one of the goddesses that we spoke about like 8 million years ago. At this point, she shows up and takes over Aylin's body very similarly to like when a Vogue was inside of Dorian or inside the king, and like the Vogue can like push back the actual person and like use her body as a shell, which is terrifying. And because Deanna is in control, she doesn't stop pulling power from Rowan and takes every last drop of Rowan's power and puts it inside of her, which is awful and scary, and I hated every second of it. I wanted to cry. It was terrible.
This whole time, Aylin like does not have control of her own body, and she can feel Deanna's like emotions, basically. Like she can feel that she'd never felt like the sun. She hasn't felt the sun in like ages, and like is looking around and seeing all of these people, and she like turns around. Deanna, as Aylin, turns around to aim like the fireball that they would have released at the city. So like these 200 people or whatever that would have to like incinerate them. And Rowan steps in front of where Deanna is aiming. And
he realizes too.
Aylin reacts so fast. She's like, oh, fuck that. Nope, absolutely not. And like wrestles back control of her own body, because Rowan steps in front knowing that if Aylin lost control and Deanna hurt people with her own power, Rowan knows that she would just be done. Like she would be devastated.
Yeah, she'd never forgive herself.
But also, Aylin knows that Rowan stepping in front may be the only thing on the planet that would break her more than hurting innocent people would be killing Rowan with a giant fireball. So Aylin is able
scenario.
Yeah, it's like literally the worst. But it's fine because Aylin comes back, so it's what we needed. Aylin is like, hell no, nope, that's not happening, and like wrestles back control just enough to be able to turn her body to point herself back towards the fleet. Doesn't make it all the way there before she releases her power, and ends up releasing the power towards the fleet, but a little bit too far down, and just everything explodes.
Including the ship they're on.
Including the ship that they're on.
Which is not great, but we didn't kill innocent... Well, we didn't kill the town.
Yeah, the people on the ship didn't all survive, unfortunately. And she's definitely gonna be beating herself up about that. like immediately, which she does. But in the bit that like is Aylin is like in her head or whatever, or not in her head, the bit of like Deanna still has control. She refers to Aylin as the queen who was promised.
Mm-hmm. Which is terrifying.
Which we've not heard before now.
Another little thing that when Deanna was in control, she said, so we talked about the antechamber, and then Aylin went through that antechamber into the next part that was her, like what she thought actually was the bottom of her power. Then Deanna showed up, took the rest of Rowan's, and she describes it as it was like someone stomped through ash and a whole entire thing just opened. So it's like she went down to like another bottom, and then Deanna was like, you think that's it? Breaks like a hole pretty much with her like foot or whatever, and another like just plume of power comes up, and she's like, the fuck? So I had not just the one that I thought and the one extra one maybe I thought, there was just another thing that I was getting power from. I didn't know if she didn't know if it was Deanna's power. She didn't know if it was like because the sun was just at the perfect spot. So like Mala maybe was filling her with power as well because it was like noon, and we know that like when she had the attack on the castle, it was high noon at the point so that she could charge up or whatever because of Mala. There's just so many different factors where you're like, where did this one come from? How did Deanna know that there was that too? Cool. Awesome. So,
because she's a goddess, she just knows everything. She also, because she knows everything, she calls her the queen who was promised. And then she also was like, hey, can you remind her also to please go find the lock? What the fuck is with the lock, guys? Can we get more information about the lock?
No. Being attacked. If you
can you tell the queen that was promised to go find the lock, please? Hey, what's up with the queen? Do we want some more context around the queen that was promised? How do we get the lock? Can you give us more information about the lock? No. Also, you're gonna kill these 200 people over here. Can you deal with the Vogue that's over there instead? Why are we aiming over there instead of at the Vogue over there?
Mm-hmm. So what you're referring to is every key has a lock. Tell the queen who was promised to retrieve it soon, for all the allies in the world shall make no difference if she does not wield the lock. If she does not put those keys back with it, tell her flame and iron, together bound, merge into silver to learn what must be found. A mere step is all it shall take. And Rowan realized what the power in her hand was. Realized that the flame she would unleash would be so cold it burned. Realized it was not the cold of the stars, the cold of stolen light. Not wildfire, but moonfire. What the fuck?
Because it's Diana. She's the goddess of the hunt and the moon and whatever other shit. But like, can we get one prophecy answered before we get another one, please?
Here's just
please,
some
God.
more of the same.
I remember reading that and just being like, what the fuck are we doing now? Like, what is this evolving into?
So
they're
much.
weird. Silver and iron, flame and iron together bound, merge into silver to learn what must be found. Great, awesome. Okay, well, we'll figure that out too, I guess.
Let's merge her fire with iron to make the key. Does the key not actually exist? Is there iron in the marshes that she has to just melt down with her fire to make the key? It's gonna turn
into silver, which she can then use to learn things. I don't fucking know.
Is there someone else that wields iron? She needs to just join forces with that person and make a key? Fuck, like...
I mean...
like...
my brain
Manon.
just solved it. My brain just solved it!
Manon is iron!
My brain, wait, who's got iron? Fuck, it's Iron Teeth. Oh no! Why are we so dumb?
Oh, Manon, where are you?
Fuck.
Where in the world is Manon Blackbeak? Abraxos, please.
Okay, never mind. I'm sorry. I solved it in my head. My bad.
It's okay. As you said it, my brain was also doing the same thing, and I went,
like, literally, I said it out loud. I was like, who had... Oh, fuck. And then it clicked for you as, like, right after it clicked for me, and I just couldn't say it out loud yet. I was like, shit.
Okay. Well, that's kind of fun.
We love Manon.
We love Manon.
We do.
Oh, I'm very excited now that I've reread this section. Well, we know now fire and iron. I almost said fire and ice. Ice is Dorian. So now we have fire, ice, and iron. And wind. We have all of the things. Because wind is Rowan.
My brain keeps fucking, like, going back to all of the titles of all of the Game of Thrones books. It's like Song and Ice of Fire, Wind, and... fuck, come on. Like, everybody's just... Let's chill with the elemental talk for a minute, please. Call shit something else.
Aelin's power blew everything up.
Yep.
Is where we kind of like, we then
That's
derailed,
back
and
up.
now we were like, iron and fire. Cool. So we had a little epiphany in ourselves. So
Yeah.
we hope you're on board with our chaos, listeners.
You have no choice. You this is it.
So now we have to like play, survival mode, because everyone is in the water. And as we know, in the water are these sea wyverns who are taking having a field day. As they find bodies, they're munching.
So bad.
Lysandra doesn't know what happened. Lysandra, our sea dragon, beautiful green iridescent sea dragon, does not know what happened. She just can smell blood and sees all of the debris of the ship wreckage kind of like all over the place. So she immediately starts swimming, and she goes straight towards the sea wyverns. While this is happening, Aylin is kind of like KO'd in the water.
Yeah, she's kind of like almost not conscious.
Yeah,
for a
she
bit
has
there.
exploded. All of the power that was inside her has gone. Rowan also does not have power right now because, unfortunately, Deanna took all of it.
Yeah,
so
not great.
we have Fenris and Gavriel who are trying to just like get the dream team out of the water.
Fenris has Aelin, which is
found
great.
Aelin, which is wonderful.
New
And
power. Surprise.
Yeah, I could not think of what it's called in ACOTAR, and
You're right.
Okay, cool.
It is.
I mixed up like Harry Potter and ACOTAR together. Where'd I even put it? Oh, I
wrote
put
teleport / whatever it's called. It's winnowing. You got it.
He has the ability to winnow, which we learned about. If you have not read ACOTAR, they can winnow. That is the only spoiler I'm going to give you. It comes up very quick in like the first book, so like it's not too much of a spoiler. But winnowing is pretty much where like one person uses their magic to like bend space and time, and it like jumps them to another point.
You like poof out of one space and you poof into another space.
Yes. So Fenris is able to do this,
which is sick,
really well compared to like what we've seen in other books. Granted,
True.
It could be like maybe he's not really like that powerful magically. He also could be burnt out because we don't know what was happening between the boat exploding, and he could have been trying to save other people too. So maybe he was just winnowing everywhere and was like, at this point was like, I found her, I need to just get her to safety. So every like 10 to 20 feet, he winnows to like, because the wyverns are trying to go after them pretty much. Yeah. And he's getting her and like pulls her out of the water. Gavriel's there, Rowan's there. They all make it onto this reef. The 3 original ships exploded as well in the, their ship exploded, but also the 3 other ships. However, 3 more start approaching, which we did not anticipate. So 6 total ships now we're up to. 3 have exploded. We have now a wave of 3 more. Really fun.
And there's still 2 sea wyverns in the water.
Yes. Still 2 sea wyvern in the water. Yep. Lysandra immediately is like scanning the water to see what's happening, see what's going on. she notices Rolfe and his like first hand or deckhand.
Yeah.
And
First mate?
First mate? Yes. And they're being pulled under, like they got caught up in something, and as that's sinking, like they're getting like kind of pulled under. So she goes right to them and brings them up and deposits them on another reef. Of course, they're terrified at first because this fucking sea dragon is flying at them. And then she's like, no, I'm here to help you. And like puts out her like, because they have wings. She's like, come, it's okay. And then she brings them out, which is great. So all of our like main characters are accounted for at this point in time.
True.
Yes. She, of course, drops them off and starts like just saving everyone she could.
Because the sea wyverns are like
picking them off,
trying to feed on the people that are in the water, basically, and like picking themselves up into a goddamn blood frenzy. So and then the other boats that are coming in too are also picking people off, like trying to get into the bay to where these people that are basically in the water are just sitting ducks. So she comes up with her whole plan of, I'm gonna take care of these sea wyverns, and while I do that, I'm just gonna beat the shit out of these other boats. She lures the 2 sea wyverns to her by just, going up to one of the other boats and is just bashing the side of the boat with her tail. Just smashing into it. And they hear her doing it and are like, that's not great. Stop immediately, like, attacking people and just start coming right at her. And she's able to, like, smash a hole into the side of this boat, and it, like, immediately starts sinking as the, like, sea wyverns finally, like, end up getting close to her.
She goes for the first boat, hits it with her tail. The 2 wyverns then see her doing this. At this point, that one's sinking. So we have 3 boats. That first boat is sinking. So she's like, cool, 1 boat down, still have these 2 wyverns. So then she's like, it's okay, keep following me. She like duck, dive, dove, the thing, and it's all over the place.
Dodgeball.
Yeah. She swims like so fast towards the ship and then like ducks under it, and the other one just like bashes into the side of it. She then jumps kind of over one of the reefs as well. So now she's like going away from the boats a bit. She jumps over one of the reefs to get one of the sea wyverns. It gets beached on the reef, and then she like hits it with her tail or something. She does
just, like,
something.
Jumps right on top of it and like breaks its spine and like clamps onto its
her, like,
neck at the same time. And like, I gotta find the line because it was so dope. It says, its neck exposed, she clamped her jaws around it and bit down. It bucked, tail slashing, but she slammed her own onto its spine, cracking its back as she cracked its neck. So fucking badass. So she kills that one, and then she lures, like, the other one into the boat. So she, like, lures it up to the boat, and then she, like, gets it close enough, and she slammed the sea wyvern into the hull of the boat, now above them. The beast roared its fury. She slammed it again and again. The hull snapped, and so did the sea wyvern's body. So she kills the first one by, like, beaching it and then just fucking ripping it apart, which is so fucking sick. And then she gets the second one while also taking out another one of the boats.
Yes. So she takes down both sea wyverns and both ships. And as she's like,
only one
bleeding.
ship is left.
Yeah, there's one ship left. She's kind of like exhausted. She just fought 2 wyverns. And of course, all she can hear is Aylin screaming to swim. And the reason that Aylin is screaming to swim is because the first 2 wyverns that she fought were babies, and there are 3 more that are 2 times the size of those coming even faster towards her in the water. And so
like, they described the ones that Lysandra fought as being twice the size of Lysandra. The new ones are twice the size of the ones she fought. So, We're a little
Yep.
stressed out.
Yes.
So now
long curving
there's-
talons and hooked teeth is how she like described like her visual of describing these.
they're Abraxos like esque, but sea dragons. Like they all have that same like.
Yeah, the
I
sea
don't know.
wyverns are like similar in stature to like
They've got the like
flying wyverns.
evil traits of whatever the fuck was created out of Morath.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got one warship, one sea dragon, and 3 adult sea wyverns.
Mm-hmm.
Aedion's freaking out.
Oh,
he's panicking. Also, he's still up there on the
tower
or whatever. One of these little fucking shit sentries is like, she's dead. Oh god, she's dead. And Aedion is shut the fuck up.
Which is like my
She's
favorite
accurate. Thing. Absolutely accurate. Would also have had the same response. This is where like the whole team comes together to support Lysandra. This fucking entire chapter, just again, and we like keep saying this with like there are certain chapters that like if you're listening to the podcast and you're listening to like recap or remember, or even like if you just don't have the time to read it and you're listening to the podcast instead, get the book, read this chapter 37. Like it's beautifully written, and the way that she describes it's so I'm one of those people that like it's very hard for me to like see the movie playing in my head while I'm reading. Like I know that that's a thing that other people are like, what do you mean your brain doesn't do that when you're reading, that like the movie's not playing? That's not what my brain does. This whole chapter though is so well written and so well like described. I can see it in my brain when it's happening, and it's just fucking awesome. So everyone's like, how the fuck is she gonna deal with this? She decides that she's going to try to separate them and like take them out one by one, obviously, because there's 3 of them, they're fucking massive, and she's one dragon who's already fought 2 fucking other things and is bleeding. So
yes.
Aelin's freaking out, Aedion's freaking out, and Dorian is like, come here, over here. Come back, come to me. My turn.
He like sparks his magic slightly in Lysandra's direction. Yeah. Of like, let me help you. I can help you. So, and this whole section, like this whole first section, we are getting Aedion's point of view.
Yeah.
So this is just Aedion spectating everything happening. So he sees that across the bay, hand uplifted and flickering bright as a star, Dorian signal Lysandra again and again with his power. Come to me, come to me, come to me, the king seemed to call. And of course, Lysandra said, sick, got it, doing it. So we still have a ship that we have to worry about. So Wyvern number 1 also takes out this 3rd ship, which we love. It is...
She tricks it. It's
huge.
So good.
Yeah. She gets the other 2 to like split off. She goes back towards the bay. Like, so she is out at sea right now, which is where all the ships are. She swims back to get all 3 of them to come back. She does like some funky trick where they all get separated, and she now has 1 following her.
Yeah,
and she
like
swims.
One dives down, one like veers off a different direction, and then the other one like chases her, and she's like going right at one of the ships.
Yeah, so she turns back around to head back out to sea where that last ship is. She just like fast. Something had happened where I don't know if it's when she jumps out the mast, like she breaks one of the masts.
She
with
jumps
her tail.
up like onto the deck of the ship and like takes people out with her whole body, like breaks up the ship and stuff, and then dives back in the water.
Yeah, so we have a mast with like all of the like sails on it. She breaks it, tumbles off back into the water. The wyvern comes out, leaps through the air, and lands directly on the broken mast, which is beautiful. It, of course, gets fucking speared. And now, because it is 3 times her size. The weight of it is just crushing everything that is within that ship. So like the top deck is crushing down and the whole thing's starting to sink. So she's like got that one out of the way and killed the ship. Lysandra has done all of it pretty much.
She's doing all of the work. All Aylin does is like takes out 3 ships and then also the ship she was standing on, and Lysandra's like, fuck, all right, fine. I guess I have to do all of it. So she takes that one out and the other ship, and then she brings the second one to Dorian and brings that one close enough into range that Dorian just fucking freezes the water, freezes the fucking
ice cube
sea wyvern. Yeah, like legitimately turns it into an ice cube, and then has the guys that are on the like thing with him like launch
a rock,
like a catapult the rocks at it, and then it just fucking like explodes because it got turned to ice, and then it just like shatters. So that's 2 down.
I'm just happy that like
1 left.
Dorian was able to use his magic.
And I know Dorian did something.
It's described is like
so good.
It was a block. Like, so he froze just a like square around the wyvern. It's not like he froze all of the water that was there and then shattered it. He only froze what was around that wyvern, which I thought was like such an incredible thing to show that like when he first fought with his magic, he just was like throwing ice out at places and didn't really have control like that. And with the little bit of help from Rowan, he was able to make a fucking ice cube. Just blunk in the water. Like, that is now ice cube.
Yeah, it literally says, like, solid ice such as there's never been here before. The king's ice grew thicker, trapping the wyvern within its frozen grip. The beast stopped moving. Hoarfrost-like scales covered him from snout to tail. And then they launched this thing, and it says, rock met ice and flesh, and the wyvern shattered into 1,000 pieces. So, like, everyone's cheering. They've got 2 down.
Mm-hmm.
The last one, they have no idea where it went. Because when all of them split off, one followed Lysandra, the other one kind of split off, which was the one that she ended up killing with Dorian, and the other one just dove straight down and, like, disappeared. The only person that sees it is Gavriel. Gavriel sees it and, like, uses his magic, basically, to, like, yell to Lysandra that it's, like, on her left and that it's coming from her left.
Gavriel amplifies his voice. Pretty much, he's the only one that sees this third wyvern swimming towards Lysandra, like, to take her out. And it's kind of deep. It went deep, like, down. It, like, dove down.
Yep.
So, it is coming on her left side. He yells, Gavriel yells, on your left. Aedion's like, now's my time to shine. He has his harpoon gun. Lysandra brings it back towards the chains. So, like, brings that third one back in towards Aedion so that he can help her. She dives down as deep as she can to, like, get it to go down. She then shoots through the sky, like, comes out of the water, dives through the air, kind of flips around so that she can get back in the water unharmed. The sea wyvern goes right out of the water, and then as it comes up, Aedion shoots his, like, spear gun at it, hits it through its mast, and then yells at the people to, like, load another one because we don't know if it's dead. And it, like, comes up. Somehow it comes back up, and he, like, ends up beheading it with the second spear shot. And Lysandra comes up, like, with its head, which is fucking gnarly. She's still obviously a sea wyvern. Or not sea wyvern, she's a sea dragon. And then it's just, it's chaos and it's beautiful. And Aedion kills the third one, which we needed. He has this moment, like, within this time, where it is the first time. And we know that Aedion has, like, more feels for Lysandra than just, you know.
She pretty.
Yeah. He loves her a lot.
He loves her.
Yeah.
He's super into her.
For the first time, he hated his cousin. He hated Aelin for asking this of Lysandra, both to defend them and to secure the Mycenians to fight for Terrasen. Hated the people who had left such scars on the shifter that Lysandra was so willing to throw her life away. Hated himself for being stuck in this useless tower with a war machine only capable of firing one shot at a time. But it's fine, because he saved the day. Well, technically, Lysandra did all of the work, and, like, she set everyone up for success. She, of course...
She does get the final kill on it. Like, he only shoots the one bolt, and then he has them, like, load the next one to get ready. And that's when she pops out, having behead, like, it, because it was injured. So, like, she gets credit. Like, Aedion helped, but it's hers. She took care of fucking everything. Also, while she's leading it back to where Aedion's gonna kill it, she leads it. It's one of my favorite parts too. She leads it through all of the ship that she just destroyed, where all the Vogue soldiers were like trying to get rescued, and leads the blood frenzied wyvern, just takes the fucking rest of them out to get it to Aedion to get it, like, to kill it. She got all the details. She doesn't miss anything. It's fantastic.
So all this shit happens. She's exhausted, rightfully so. She took out not just the 2 baby wyverns, but the other 3. So she's taken out 5 wyverns and 3 warships that were filled with Vogue.
That's fucking insane. Wild. This is why Lysandra's the best.
Yes.
Fucking best.
She is bleeding. As she's making her way, like, towards the beach, there's black blood that's everywhere from the wyverns and from the Vogue. And then Aedion makes a note that the black blood turned to red because she's bleeding. So she makes it and, like, beaches herself. She's like, I'm done. And she just lays out. That's it. I can't do anything else. Aedion is booking it to her. Mm-hmm. Because, of course, he is. She is still obviously in her sea dragon form because she has no ability or power or strength to transform back into her human form. And so Aedion is approaching slowly. Like, he runs, gets there, and is kind of like, hey, baby girl, it's okay. Like, it's me. He doesn't actually say that.
Hey, girl, hey.
He gets to her and has, like, very kind of slow movements towards her. She's, like, teeth shown, like, get away from me kind of thing. She's on the defense, obviously. She went in, she had to, like, go full animal mode.
She's, like, a little feral at the moment. Because she's expended so much of her power, she can't transform back. And she's, like, more animal instinctive than she has, like, brain power right now. Aedion is panicking because she is not looking good. She is covered in scratches and, like, bleeding a lot. He like immediately is, like, panicking for, like, Rowan and Aelin to show up.
Yeah, and he also has no idea how much power they have left because he saw all of this happen. He saw them explode with power. He saw them kind of on the reef, not being able to do much. And he really, like, he can't touch her to heal her either because she's kind of still in that feral state that we were just talking about. So he's just trying to get her to recognize him, to recognize them, to figure out where they are, like, get her back to, like, her Lysandra brain versus her sea dragon brain. And I have a very large section highlighted that I would like to read, thing. If that just is okay. All of it. Okay. Yes. Aedion says to her, "Open your goddamn eyes." She snarled back, but cracked open an eye. "You made it this far. Don't die on the rutting beach." The eye narrowed with a hint of female temper. He had to get the woman back. Let her take control, or else the beast would never allow them near enough to help. "You can thank me when your sorry ass is healed." Again, that eye watched him warily, temper flickering, but an animal remained. Aedion drawled, even as his relief began to crumble, his mask of arrogant calmness. "The useless sentries in the watchtower are now all half in love with you," he lied. "One said he wanted to marry you." A low snarl. He yielded a foot, but held eye contact. But you know what I told them? I said that they don't stand a chance in hell, Aedion lowered his voice, holding her pained, exhausted stare. Because I am going to marry you, he promised her. One day, I am going to marry you. I'll be generous and let you pick when, even if it's 10 years from now, or 20. But one day, you are going to be my wife. Those eyes narrowed in what he could only call female outrage and exasperation. He shrugged. Princess Lysandra Ashriver. Sounds nice, doesn't it? And then the dragon huffed, an amusement, exhaustion, but amusement. She opened her jaws as if she'd try to speak, but realized she couldn't in this body. That was then when Brush snapped and Aylin and Rowan were there. So he got her back just in time for them to show up and start healing her.
She shows up and Aylin is literally like destroyed. She's distraught. She's like, I'm sorry. And I love this part so much. Like, she gets healed. Rowan is able to heal her. Aylin is like there to help. And Aedion has this like conversation in his head of like, he immediately wants to snap at her and be like, and like blame her for this. But he knows that it already took, she doesn't delegate. Like, it already took so much for her to trust any of them to be able to delegate anything to them, that if he were to snap at her now, she would never let anyone do anything to help her ever again.
Mm-hmm.
And I love,
especially because Lysandra is like so hurt in this moment.
I know. Like, he already knows. And I think he says it too in his head. He's like, he knows that every angry word that he had in his body to yell at her just like leaves at like seeing how distraught she is, because he knows that there's nothing he could say that would match how she already feels. Like, she's there already. But
yeah,
he
says his queen knew the cost. It had taken her so damn long to trust any of them to do anything. It's just like,
I love it. Feels like one of the most mature and like almost adult decisions that he makes, that he realizes so quickly. He's like, I have to control my own emotions, because it's already, if I do this now, she's gonna shut down again. She'll never let any of us back in. And I'm like, yes, good. Keep your mouth shut. God damn it.
He does.
We still have this problem of her not telling other people what the fuck is going on.
Yeah. She let one person in. Lysandra knew the whole plan, which is cool. I'm happy.
I feel like Lysandra's the only one that ever knows the fucking whole plan.
Yeah.
Not even Rowan, I feel like,
he slightly snaps, but he like had reined it in, and he pretty much was like, what happened? What the hell happened out there? And she just admits, I lost control. She doesn't talk about the word key. They don't bring it up right now. Granted, Fenris and Gavriel are right kind of there as well. Yeah. So, and then like,
main reason.
There's just a bajillion, other soldiers around too. That like,
Rowan literally snarls at them and is like, save it for later.
Yeah. We're not dealing with this right now. She has lost so much blood. Like, we need to stop that currently.
They can't move her either, because like, she's too weak to shift back and she's a fucking sea dragon. So like, she's too big to be moved. So Aylin just says, then we wait here until she can. And they like
Aedion
are all
ends
sitting
up
there
staying.
like looking at the debris, and Aedion's like, I'll stay here with her, but you probably have to go figure out what the fuck with Rolfe.
Yeah, go deal with Rolfe.
Yee.
His father offers to help. Gavriel offers to help and says, I'll go get stuff from the tower, and Aedion's just like, fine. And this section, so there's this one part of this last chapter, which like, I put in parentheses, the lion and the wolf part, bleh, because it felt weird. The way it was written, it was this strange third person. So like, we've been in first person for so long. I think if it was like, if it used Gavriel's name or used Aedion's name or like son and father, it would have been less weird for me. But the whole time it referred to Gavriel as the lion
Yeah.
and Aedion as the wolf,
Right.
which was strange.
So
So I switched all of that in my notes to Gavriel and Aedion because I hated it.
but you like, those are what they're known as.
Yeah, but it's still, it was like, the narrator hasn't been here for 40 years. Why are you showing up now?
That's fair. I mean, I do feel like maybe it would have made more sense if it were a separate chapter, because like that's usually what happens is like when they do something where it's when she does those parts where it's like
its own
written
thing.
as if it like a lore thing more than it is like them recounting or us reading the story. It's written more as like, this is the mythology version that you would have heard, but it's within the chapter and like right at the end. It does feel like kind of strange and out of place.
It's like it's like 2 pages, which is also weird.
It could all fit on one page. That's where it starts. That's where it ends. It could literally fit on one single page, which is probably why it wasn't its own chapter and was instead just tacked on at the end of this chapter.
Pretty much the gist of that little section is that Gavriel kind of stays the whole time. Because 1, he's worried for Aedion. 2, he can tell that Aedion has this, like, an attachment to this shifter that he doesn't know about. And that he just kind of, like, sits in the shadows. It describes him, like, hanging out in the brush of the tree line while they're on the beach.
He's, like, just being quietly impressed with Gavriel. Or with Aedion, like, the whole time. And is, like, thinking... It is kind of sad. Because it basically says, like, he remains out of sight.
Yeah.
And held in the offer of help. Held in the words he needed to say to the wolf who had downed a sea wyvern with 1 arrow. 24 years old and already a myth whispered over campfires. Today's events would no doubt be told around fires in lands even the lion had not roamed in all his centuries. And then the last line is just, the lion wondered if he himself would ever be mentioned in those whispered stories, if his son would ever allow the world to know who sired him, or even care.
It is sad, and I feel like I would have much rather had this, like, be just Gavriel's POV, and don't put in this weird, the wolf and the lion. Like, when I read it, it took me out of it. Which,
Gotcha.
like, the only reason I didn't, like, it just felt so, like, left field, where I was like, okay. And so I was reading, I was like, okay, Gavriel, Aedion.
I can see you just angrily, passive-aggressively being like, Gavriel thought that maybe wondered if he would ever be.
Yeah, my notes I wrote, Gavriel stayed near the brush, keeping out of sight of Aedion for hours while Lysandra healed. She finally was able to shift back, and Aedion carried her back to the city.
Ta-da, that was it. The whole summary.
Yep. I didn't even give Gavriel his, like, internal dialogue in my notes. I highlighted it because I also thought it was great, but because I was angry, I was like,
it made my heart sad when I read it. He was like, if he'd ever even be mentioned, because if his son ever decided that he'd want to be known as his son, I'm like, oh, that hurts. And I feel bad because it's like, I don't know, Gavriel didn't know. Like, I feel that's like...
Yeah, Gavriel didn't know he had a son.
Oh. And he's such an honorable dude. I feel like he absolutely would have been there.
It may have stopped Gavriel from being part of the... He may have tried to get out of that whole situation he's in.
He was definitely in already by the time.
Yeah.
All that went down. But
I get the idea that, like, Gavriel's only true love was Aedion's mother. Because the second he sees him, he knows. He's like, you look just like her.
Heartbroken by it, too.
Mm-hmm. Rowan and Aylin are headed back to the city. They go talk to Rolfe. They have, like, the quickest little discussion with him. All's good. He's, like, still checking on my men.
Pissed.
He's pissed. But for the most part... He's not thrilled that his ship has exploded. but also he still has to like account for his men because like some of them have died, as we are very well aware. He's like in cleanup mode at this point. So he doesn't really want to chat with her at this exact moment either. Inside of her like inner dialogue, she is over and over replaying this. Every key has a lock.
It's so annoying.
Which is what Deanna said. It's Briannon. Brennan's order. Brannon.
There you go.
Oh my god. Okay. It is Brannon's order from like very long ago. Deanna had just reiterated it. There's also this like new thing of the queen who was promised, which we're like, the fuck does that mean? Who promised Aylin? Which is terrifying. We have a maybe idea that it was potentially Mala, or it was, I thought maybe it was Deanna. I don't know. It was one of these goddesses had promised Aylin, which is not great.
I don't fucking know.
Rolfe is pissed because at one point, as we know, Aylin turned around to like throw her power at his city, and he was like, hey, about that, the fuck was that? And she's like, I kind of was like, I slipped up.
Your control can slip.
Yeah.
And he's like, slip? You looked like you were gonna fire on my town. What do you mean slip?
Rowan, of course, is like, magic's a living thing, and like sometimes you lose control of it.
Yeah.
When you're deep in it, remembering yourself, your purpose is an effort. That my queen did so before it was too late is a feat in itself. He's like covering for her. Granted, it's the perfect timing because she probably was like, well, can I tell him that I just kind of like, a goddess decided she wanted to take over my body and like control me a little bit, and so I had to like fight my way back. So
she doesn't tell him that part, which is great. Probably not necessary. But he basically says like, you seem like someone who's playing with powers outside of your control that you don't understand. Mm-hmm. And we get the story of how he got the map. Yes. Which was like, he was out at sea, like sailing under a different captain. The captain was like sailing into a storm, wasn't listening to the crew, and basically like got them all, got like all of those people killed. Like the ship sank. He survived and like made it onto a deserted island where like some random man walks up to him and is like, what do you desire? And he's like, I want to be a captain, like no matter what, and be able to like be the one that makes the decisions, because like all of his friends had died. And the guy's like, I'll take what you love the most, or what's of most value to you, or something like that. He's like, cool, whatever, I don't have anything of value. He like,
yeah, he also home. Thought he was dreaming because he had gone, he said something along the lines of like, he had been in and out of sleep because he was drifting for days. So like the ship crashed in the storm. He was like just kind of floating along in the ocean. I guess came across land at some point.
Yeah.
He didn't realize that he was even truly on land. He thought he was just having a dream. And then realized when he woke up that this map is just on his arm.
Yeah.
And he's like, what is this thing? And of course the guy was gone, so he's just like, okay, I just have this thing on my arm now.
He like makes it back home and finds out that he did have something of value. His family had tried, like they had gotten a small boat and like had gone out to sea to try to find him, and they never came back. And like that is what spurs him basically into unleashing his rage on the whole area and gets him to be the pirate king of Skulls Bay, because he just takes over. And he's like, tells her this story of like, don't fucking mess with shit that you don't understand, because you don't know what you're risking.
Mm-hmm.
Because magic is a bitch.
He says, it was the price of my power. What shall yours be, Aelin Galathinius? Which I was just like, fuck.
Which then spurs on her whole conversation that she has in her head and with Rowan of, like, the queen that was promised. And, like, Rowan asks her if she willingly used the key, and she said no. It just kind of happened, which is terrifying. Like, she realizes that, like, she probably got, like, a little bit baited into using it, not knowing that, like, her power could, like, merge with it to be able to actually open a door for someone to come through.
Mm-hmm.
Now she knows.
They also didn't fully know what the word key did.
Mm-hmm.
They knew it was a key, but, like, they, up to this point, like, even us as readers, we're like, okay, all of these word keys go to this one place, and they all have to be used on this one place to then open it up to these Vogue for them to come in. But, like, up to this point, we didn't know that a person could just use the key on themselves and just open a portal, like, open an inner portal where, like, Deanna could just be like, hey, I'm here.
Yeah. Rowan's response to all of this is, it seems she wants us to make finding this lock a priority if you were given the message twice. And her response is, isn't it enough to contend with Erewhon and Maeve to do the bidding of Brannon and Elena? Now I have to face the gods breathing down my neck about it as well. Oh my god. It's so good.
Yeah, they talk about her being called that the queen who was promised, again, kind of more out loud. All the other ones were like internal. This is like out loud in their conversation.
Yeah. And Rowan's like so chill this whole time. He's like,
yeah, he's like, we'll figure it out. She's like, how can you be just fine with this? He goes, trust me, Aylin, I'm anything but fine with the idea that you are fair game to those immortal bastards. I'm anything but fine with the idea that you can be taken from me like that. If I could, I would hunt Deanna down and pay her back for it. She's the goddess of the hunt. You might be at a disadvantage. A half smile. She's a haughty immortal. She's bound to slip up. And besides, I have her sister on my side. He angled his head, studying her fire. Perhaps that's why Mala appeared to me that morning, why she gave me her blessing. Because you're the only one arrogant and insane enough to hunt a goddess? Rowan shucked off his boots. Because I'm the only one arrogant and insane enough to ask Mala Firebringer to let me stay with the woman I love.
Yay!
Oh, it's so good.
Perhaps you're the only one arrogant and insane enough to love me. Oh! He, like, tells her that, like, hey, there's, like, no depth of your power that's gonna scare me away. Okay, relax. She's, like, feeling super self-conscious. And Rowan's like, nope, not going anywhere. I'm here.
She admits that she wishes that she wasn't the one that has to fight this war. He, of course, counters with, but who else would be able to get under Erewhon's skin? Never underestimate the power of that insufferable swagger. And of course, so she's like, as far as memory serves, Prince, it was that insufferable swagger that won your cranky immortal heart. It's just so, like... They, like, get to this edge of, like, despair, and he brings her back, and, like, they do that for each other throughout the whole book. Where it's, like, one is kind of, oh god, the world is ending, and the other one pulls the other back, and he really brings her back down, which is wonderful. This is also when they, like, actually have, like, the full I love you back and forth, which is just,
so
like...
cute.
So good.
Rowan had caught her each time she had fallen. First, when she had plummeted into that abyss of despair and grief. Second, when that castle had shattered and she had plunged to the earth. And now this time, this third time, she was not afraid. Aylin met Rowan's stare and said clearly and baldly without a speckle of doubt, I love you. I'm in love with you, Rowan. I have been for a while, and I know there are limits to what you can give me, and I know you might need time. His lips crushed to hers, and he said onto her mouth, dropping words more precious than rubies and emeralds and sapphires into her heart, her soul. I love you. There is no limit to what I can give you, no time I need. Even when this world is forgotten, whispers of dust between the stars, I will love you.
They, of course, then are like super cutesies, and he calls her Fireheart, and she sniffed back tears, buzzard. And I was just like, it's so cute.
This is when they finally do it!
He puts up a shield.
What the fuck are
to
we
keep
at?
people
What are we?
out.
Chapter fucking 39, book 5. Fuck, guys. Technically, it's, I guess, only been 3 books.
No.
Heir of Fire, Queen of Shadows, and then this book.
Well, we get nothing. Well, I guess technically
that's what
she
I'm saying.
slept with
Technically
Kale.
for him. But I mean, with him, their story starts in Heir of Fire. So it's been 3 books. Still a fucking lot of books. This is young adult. Well, it's not fucking young adult anymore, okay? You know what we talk about in, like, we stopped talking about it at the beginning of the episode of, like,
Trigger warning.
Hey, trigger warnings? Here it is, guys. This is where the book becomes new adult. It's not young adult anymore.
So they do it on a beach. He puts all of his, like, similar to, like, wards, he puts a shield around them to keep people from, like, coming to the beach, to protect them. He's like, nobody's getting through these things.
No one can see them. Now, does the shield protect them from the sand that they are having sex on? No. No, it fucking doesn't. She bursts into flames at one point and fucking turns the sand into glass. Does that protect them from the sand so that my nice happy brain cannot be thinking about the UTIs that are currently coming her way? No. Because at the end of all of this shit, she still has the audacity to write. So they walked into the water to wash the sands from their body. And then they have sex in the salt water. Sarah, please.
She was young when she wrote this.
My note is, but on the beach, on the sand, with waves crashing around them, that was the other bit too, is it's not, like, the waves are crashing around, that's more sand. That's getting into other areas. Magic sand protection, I guess. I want to live in a magical world where UTIs don't exist. Please, can I go there? Anyways,
I tried
it was
to pretend
beautiful
that didn't
otherwise.
exist. Yeah.
I was on board with the pretending it didn't exist until the end of the whole scene where she literally says they walk into the water to wash the sand from their bodies. And I was like, Sarah, we were so close. Please. God damn it. Okay.
They do their thing on the beach and then they go back to town. And of course, everybody knows.
Everyone knows. I mean, one, they're going to smell it immediately.
Yeah. If you're unaware, but in, like, the Fae to Fae thing, when you do it for the first time, you mark each other with your scent.
Change.
Yeah. So, the same thing, similar, happens in ACOTAR. Like, it happens in all of them. They're marked that they belong to each other. She marked him. He marks her. And, of course, they walk in. And there's another thing with Fae males, is that when your marked significant other is in a room with other males, you get, like, this crazy rage towards every male that exists.
Especially
even if they
in the
are
beginning.
Related. Yes. So they get into this place, and of course, Rowan is, like, trying to, like, curb his temper. Dorian and Aedion know what the fuck is up because they keep their fucking mouths shut.
Also,
and they're just
Lysandra's first fucking words to them. Lysandra sat in bed, face drawn but eyes narrowed at the queen. It was the shifter who purred, "Enjoyed your ride?" I love her. Her response is, "Isn't that all these Fae males are good for?" I love them so much.
So the whole reason they went and had like kind of their moment away was one, Aelin fucked up. And we know this. She knows this. Rowan knew this. We needed to bring her down so that she didn't explode. She's like recouping all this magic like pretty rapidly too. So like one of the ways to get your magic out is by doing it. Apparently, we find that out in every book that is Sarah J. Maas. That's just how they like energy out, magic out.
Gotta burn off some steam.
Yeah. So they come back and she admits to them everything, pretty much. She says, hey, I had the amulet of Orinth around my neck during that whole thing. And one thing led to another. Queen Deanna decided she wanted to inhabit my body. We maybe exploded a little bit. Rowan noticed what was happening. Meanwhile, kind of stopped me. We figured it out. Everything exploded. Shit hit the fan. Lysandra, you're the real queen here. Like, did it all. Cool. She then also talks about the Eye of Elena. She like just pretty much tells them everything up to this point. Like talks about kind of everything that Deanna said to her, like all of the additional like word key lock hints that they got in those moments. She gives it all to kind of everyone.
She says to Dorian, I think it's time you met your ancestor.
Yeah.
She summons her, basically, to chat.
Yeah.
This
she does a
whole
word
conversation
situation.
Is fucking hilarious. Because my favorite part of this is the fact that, like, she appears, and it's, like, the first time any of them are seeing her, but Aelin's, like, this is, like,
she met with her a dozen times in
she's pissed.
The castle. Like they
go
way back.
Like book 1, dude. Like this has been happening for ages. So like she's all
Aelin's
corporeal pissed. And like being like her regal self and being like, it's too far away. It's like, rise, young king, like sees Dorian and Aelin's literally like can we not play the holier than thou ancient spirit game right now? Like, please, let's. And she literally is snapping at her. She snaps her fingers at the queen once, twice, drawing her attention back to her. Hello, Elena, she growled. So nice to see you. It's been a while. Care to answer some questions? I don't have much time. The connection is too hard to maintain so far from Rifthold. What a surprise. Oh my god. She like mentions that like, hey, Deanna's a god and you kicked her out. She will not soon forget that insult, Majesty. She can get in line, Aelin said.
No more games. Her out. Why did Deanna arrive today? Like, I get the finding the lock's important, but what is it? Like, give me answers, please. Also, why was she calling me the queen who was promised? Hello?
She's like, I'm done. You need to give me answers right now. Like, I'm sick of this. What she gets from her is, like, really not a lot of clear information. But what she does get is, like, hey, if my dad and Deanna are both telling you that this is something you have to go do, you gotta fucking go do it, okay? What we do learn is that the lock is something that was created by Elena's mother as, like, the last thing that she did before she died. Like, she died creating this lock for Brannon. And it was meant to be a lock. The lock wasn't meant to be used to lock Erewhon away. Elena stole it and used it for that. Because, like, all of her friends had died. All of her people had died. And she was like, this is the thing that it has to get used for. And used it to lock him away in the tomb, which is not what it was intended for.
She also admits that, like, maybe I kind of fucked up.
And she does admit she kind of fucked up. But
we also believe that, like, so Elena also believes that the lock could only be used one time.
Yeah, so that's
they,
why
like,
she didn't mention it. She, like, never mentioned it before, and Aelin was like, what the fuck? And she's like, I thought it was dead. Like, I thought it was like a one-time use kind of thing, which is why I never brought it up before. But like, it must not be if those two are telling you like you gotta go get it.
Mm-hmm.
So she's trying to figure all this out, and she asks, "Okay, so like who was your mom then?"
This is when we find out that Mala,
Firebringer,
that the Firebringer goddess,
not just blesses Brandon.
Yeah, not just blesses it, but was Elena's mother.
Yeah, like,
and the reason she doesn't exist anymore is because she gave up her mortality to create this lock to then die.
Yeah, she like gives up her mortality to like be with Brandon, and then her last like act as a mortal is to create this lock and then dies. So this is confirmation, and also the reason why Aylin realizes, oh fuck, that's why my well of power is so goddamn huge, because I'm not from the line that was just blessed by Mala. I'm literally a descendant of Mala, and so is Dorian.
Yes.
Which is insane.
So they share Mala's blood. That is how they're related. And so they both have her power, which I can't fucking wait for Dorian's power to like be at the same level.
I mean, we get like every single time we see her power, it's like this huge, awesome, big thing. And then the next time it's a bigger, huger, awesome, bigger thing. And then the next time it's gonna be, I don't know when it's gonna stop. She's just gonna blow everything up. Also, this is when she like drops that little tidbit. She goes, Aylin's like, Mala Firebringer was your mother. And then Elena just disappears. Just, that's it. She's gone. Aedion says, honestly, it's a miracle you two didn't kill each other.
She does have one thing that she talks about while she's, that we might need to try to fit in, because Elena brings up that you weren't meant to retrieve the word keys before Erewhon could get this far. And of course, Aylin's like, well, I didn't. Forgive me, if you weren't entirely clear of your directions, I was unable to get them.
So funny.
She doesn't have time to explain, but the only choice is to save Aurelia, and you need to like stop with these like little fights that you're dealing with. You need to just go and do the thing. And of course,
Aylin's like, what the fuck do you mean? Like, I love the, hey, I didn't do the thing in enough time that you requested I get it done because you didn't give me clear instructions. And then she's like, hey, stop having all your little fights and go find the lock. It doesn't provide her with any clear instructions as to how to find the lock. It's like, this is gonna happen again. Okay, can you please give me some more information? Would be great. The clarity so that I can get the shit done.
Aylin goes, Brandon told us to go to the stone marshes of Eyllwe to find the lock, but like, where exactly in the marshes? They're not entirely small. Give me just a little bit. So she gets a little bit more information. She says, oh, I tossed them in these ruins of this like temple. She's like,
and then the temple sank into like the water.
The marshes. That's what the marshes
which are now the marshes. Like, she's like, yeah, we just forgot about them because they just sank. And she's like, what the fuck? So I gotta find a temple that's underwater in the Great, sick, thanks. I'll get right on that.
We place it inside the holy city on the plain to be a commemoration of the lives lost. But a great cataclysmic rocked the land decades later. And the city sank, the marsh water flowed in, and the lock was forgotten. No one ever retrieved it. Its power had already been used. It was just a bit of metal and glass. And now it's not? If both my father and Deanna mentioned it, it must be vital in stopping Erewhon.
I love it. The way that she responds is like, okay, so it's not now? Like, what are we... Okay?
Yeah.
It's so good.
So she's related to her mother is Mala, and this lock is just somewhere in the marsh. It was on land, now it's underwater because an event happened now. So Aylin, of course, has put together the fact that, okay, Mala's blood is in her, so that's what that last little bit of power was, where they broke through, or Deanna was like, hey, you have more power, smash, here it is. They are gonna go to the marches, I guess. That's their next move. She's like, we leave tomorrow morning, because this seems to be really pressing. So they, of course, get one of the ships, Rolfe's ships.
Yeah.
That remains somehow after all that. And Aylin pretty much directs Rolfe. Now he's like in.
Yep.
Even though he's pissed, he's in.
Part of the dream team.
She's like, all right, you need to go get all the other Mycenians. That's your role. So Rolfe's going to go do that. Aylin.
His goal is get the Mycenians and then, like, hold the archipelago, and then the rest of them go with them to Eyllwe.
Yeah. And so, of course, she hasn't shared why they are going to, other than they have to go to these marshes. And Aedion says something along the lines like, that's not a fight we can take. She's like, I'm not going to start a fight. I gotta find this stupid fucking lock now.
Gotta go sneaky sneak.
Yeah, it's like, we're gonna just... Maeve's gonna be over here doing Maeve things, and we're just gonna...
Yep. Sneak on behind. It'll be fine.
Rolfe does help a little in their endeavor to the marshes. He uses his map, his arm map, to be like, where is lock in marsh? And says, okay, it's generally here. It's like here's a little circle. It's in this general location. And she's like, cool. So they have a little bit closer of a coordinate other than just temple in marshes underwater. Cool.
They set sail.
Yeah, they set sail. Gavriel and Fenris are going with them, which is great. And then as they're sailing, Dorian gets this hit, this like wave of magic. Something hits him that he senses. And then it hits Aylin, and it hits Rowan, and it hits everyone else. And so everyone's kind of on high alert. And this shadow appears in the sky. And I immediately started to panic. Because I was like, sick. They just had a fight. So now we're going to have to deal with, I don't know, wyverns? The ones that fly?
It's just one, though. Just one single
it's just one.
wyvern.
Who's our little witchling that we have not heard from?
A rider atop it.
Ever.
A rider who did not move, whose white hair was unbound, listing towards the side.
I just wrote in all caps, Manon and Abraxos. Manon fell off the saddle and into the water.
Yeah. Abraxos finds them.
Dorian also yells, like, stop, do not attack.
Yep.
Like, he is immediately like,
he's
what's
yelling
going on?
no, not to shoot. Aylin yells to hold your fire, and everyone helps. And Abraxos, like, sails up, or glides up, basically. And, like, as soon as he's starting to get close enough, like, maybe 50 feet or whatever from, or however far from actually being able to close enough to the boat, Manon just falls off the edge of the saddle.
Slides off, yeah.
And into the water, and Dorian jumps in after her.
Huh?
And that's the end of part 2. Or that's the end of part 1.
Part 1. Yeah, so that's part 1 of Empire of Storms. Like, that's how that first section. Lucky for you guys, and for us, we still get a little bit of follow-up after that. However, that's where we leave Manon. She falls in the water. Which isn't great.
So, update is...
She's still alive.
Not good.
Update. Still not doing well. But alive. And Abraxos
made
brought her
it
to safety.
Somewhere safe.
Yes.
which was Aylin, which is an interesting interpretation of what safe means for her. But I'm
technically...
here for Abraxos. I'm here.
He couldn't find the 13. The other option was the 13, who were being hunted actively.
I don't think they're the safest at the moment either.
Well, he just missed all of the action that took place. So, like, technically right now they're in a lull.
True.
Yeah, we just had a high point. But yes, we are on now part 2. We go 2 chapters into part 2. And part 2 is labeled Fireheart, which we love. It's great. We get some follow-up with Elide and Lorcan. So that's how we leave our dream team here on this boat with Manon. Manon has showed up. Abraxos has showed up. We are happy. We love Abraxos.
Yay, thanks Abraxos.
I'm just...
delivering Manon into the safe arms of Dorian.
Yes. Elide and Lorcan are still with the troupe. It's been weeks. There's one thing that Elide notices a lot of is like fire and smoke. And she makes a note of it like being hard to breathe because there's a lot of smoke. And of course, Molly is like, the farmers burn their fields at the end of every season to like replenish the earth and whatever, which is actually a real thing that happens. Outside of this, they set up kind of a carnival in this. They hit up the first town, and the town was like, nah, we don't want a carnival. Then they moved on to the next one, and now they're kind of setting up shop in this little spot to do their thing. Elide kind of wasn't making as much money as she thought she would be able to. She is playing the part of Oracle. So she notes that mostly young men come to her and ask when they're going to find the love of their life.
Yep.
Which
or
I
if
find
the girls in town like them.
Yes.
It's
just
so
like,
great.
Okay.
Does this girl like me?
Mm-hmm.
No? Okay, cool. Thanks. Bye.
Thanks, bye. Here's like a gold coin.
She gets
Lorcan,
a little jealous.
Lorcan, on the other hand, has been putting on a show. He is making lots of money because
everyone loves watching Lorcan.
He is doing all of his shows with his shirt off.
Yeah.
And as we know, he's 6 foot whatever and ripped to the nines because he's been around for 500 years. And what else does he have to do other than, he's also a warrior. So
she also makes a comment too that like during his shows, she's like, I don't even know how he's making that much money because he seems so bored. She's like, he runs through his routines, doesn't care at all. And she's like, I'm pretty sure he's just running through a workout. Like he's just doing a workout he would do anyways. He's just doing it on a stage without his shirt. And that's how he's making all of his money.
Yeah. She notes Lorcan was not a natural performer. No, he had the gall to actually look bored up there, bordering on outright sullen.
So good.
But what he lacked in charm, he made up with his shirtless, oiled body, and holy gods.
I do like that, like, I love the idea that, like, someone was like, you gotta put oil on your body. And he's like, fucking no. And they're like, you have to. He's like, fuck, fine. And then, like, goes out there and does his workout. Because there ain't no way that Lorcan is on purpose. Like, made the decision himself. Someone else had to strong arm him into putting oil on his body. There's no way.
I kind of wrote off Elide and Lorcan at like the very beginning.
Yep. Sure.
Like, I was like, okay, whatever. The first couple of stories where they're like in the woods and she like consents him. I was like picking up on some weird things that were like a little suspicious where I'm like, no one consents him but her. Like, the fuck? Yep. How is that possible? Okay, he's definitely going to stick around because he's curious as to why that's going on. But now the dynamic between these two are like fastly becoming one of my favorite things to read about.
Yeah.
Because
they are a fan favorite for sure.
Yeah. Elide, of course, catches herself of like, I'm ogling over my husband.
Mhm.
I'm just as bad as all of these other women that show up
Yep.
to give him money. So she, of course, watches his little bit of show, and then she goes back to her tent. She, of course, is like inside internally, like, the fuck, he's gonna leave, like, blah blah, like going on and on. And then Lorcan shows up because he locked eyes with her at the end of his set, collected all this extra money, and he's like, she just stormed away. But as we learn, he just wanted to be near Elide, which I think is great. And I'm very happy about.
He also comes back without his shirt, and she like gives him shit for it. And he says, "A farmer's wife paid me 10 gold for it. 10 coppers. Got 10 coppers from a farmer's wife for it, and a lead scout. That's disgusting. Money is money. I suppose you don't need to worry about it with all that gold you've got stashed."
Oh, so good.
He tells her, so she's like, "You're in a rare good mood." He's like, "That's what happens when you get offered to like join a man and his wife later."
Yeah,
it
said
like,
having 2 women and 1 man offer a spot in their beds tonight will do that to a person. Fuck. Like, come on.
And then he doesn't go. And she's like, "Well, why are you here?" And he's like, "Oh, it would ruin your ruse if I went off with other people." Yeah, Lorcan, sure.
She's like,
"You have zero fucking interest in going."
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's so... This is one of those sections where I'm like, read chapter 40 and 41.
It's cute.
Because it's just Elide and Lorcan back and forth, snide remarks. It's just... You get little bits where she's like, he knows she's jealous, and then he's also jealous, and it's just this like... Yeah. She was about to like tell him off, and then screaming started.
Yeah, because we can't have nice things, so we can't just have a nice moment.
And then we flip to like Lorcan's POV, and it's where he talks about how other men were staring at Elide, or I should say Marion, because he still doesn't know her real name. And he, of course, saw her at like on the outskirts, and then saw her kind of storm off, and he wanted to check on her. Like he had the urge to go directly to her. He noted that like he liked the like garb that she was wearing, and like the little jewels that were hanging off her headdress, and her like red lips, and like all this other stuff. And he's like thinking thoughts I shouldn't be thinking about my wife.
That's not my wife.
Yeah. And
so much to the point that he doesn't notice any of the shit happening outside until they literally hear the screaming.
Yeah, so he didn't sense any of it. Usually
he's too distracted by thinking his naughty thoughts about Elide, which is hilarious.
Yes.
And amazing.
Which we love. But also, he's like, the fuck am I doing? And he looks at Elide and says, well, he says, "Marry and hide. Like, get in one of the wagons and hide." There are 4 Ilkin that show up, that plunge from the sky. The fires were not the farmers at all, but they were set by the Ilkin or whatever moved with them to act as a distraction and to hide their scent and to act as cover. Of course, the Ilkin go to Lorcan and say, "We are looking for Elide Lorcan. Do you know her?"
Who?
And in that moment, he goes, "Elide, not Marion. We'll deal with that later." And he, of course, covers and says she doesn't exist. We get Nick and Ambriel also by his side, trying to fight. They now know that Elide and Lorcan are not who they say they are. Which is...
They have a thought. They don't, like, they know, I don't know if they know, like, who they really are, but they end up fighting the Ilkin, and, like, when I say they end up fighting the Lorcan takes care of all the Ilkin, and the rest of them just kind of are there to help. And then they're like, sure, you're a normal dude that just took out 4 Ilkin. Yeah, cool, dude. There's nothing weird or magical happening with you at all. So they're suspect. Elide this whole time is hiding, and she's like trying to figure out what's going on, and is like, do I get out? Do I run? Do I stay? She like finally makes the decision
silent
to get
now.
out and run. She gets up. She like tries to get out and gets like
She was in
stuck.
like hidden in a hatch that was like inside of the wagon. So like
tries to get out and like it makes noise opening and she like freaks out and then like she tries to get out and like the floorboards creak and then her fucking dress or something is caught on some other shit and she's like panicking the whole time and then Lorcan is like
sitting there.
If I were
waiting.
an Ilkin, you'd be dead. And she's like, oh, thank fuck. Like, what the hell? Like, why are you making me go through all of this? And this is when he's like, why didn't you tell me the truth, Elide? She's like, uh-oh.
Well, about that. Why would I tell you the truth? Like, I didn't trust you. Why would I trust you? And of course she goes on like, he notes her being like standing taller and like hands on hips, kind of like mad at him for calling her out for lying, which I thought was great.
Which, I mean, I think is fair. She's like, fuck you. Why would I tell you who I actually am? That's dumb.
I
think you should be proud of her.
I wrote, Lorcan lectured Elide and Elide popped the fuck off. Which I thought was so good.
It's accurate.
I'm going to read it because I want to touch on this specifically. Rage flashed in her fine-boned face. You keep plenties of secrets too, Lorcan. She spat his name like a curse, and I still haven't been able to decide if I find it insulting or amusing that you think I'm too stupid to notice, that you thought I was some fear-addled girl, too grateful for the presence of such a strong, brooding warrior to even question why you were there, or what you wanted, or what your stake in all of this is. I gave you exactly what you wanted to see, a lost young woman in need of help, perhaps a bit skilled at lying and deceit, but ultimately not worth more than a few seconds' consideration. And you, in all your immortal arrogance, didn't think twice. Why should you, when humans are so useless? Why should you ever even bother when you plan to abandon me the moment you got what you needed? She's like, yes. Yes, Elide.
She also...
Give it back to him.
His only retort is like, I would be careful what you say to me. She's like, or what? You'll sell me to Morath? Use me as your ticket in? I hadn't thought to do that, but thank you for the idea. If you try to bring me to Morath, I will end my own life before you can carry me over the Keep's Bridge. She is so fucking badass.
Mm-hmm.
I love her.
This is what kept him at bay, too, like that sentence. And in kind of his internal dialogue, it goes, it was the threat, the promise that checked his anger, his utter rage, that she had indeed played into his expectations of her, his arrogance and prejudices. Yes.
He asks to know, like, what it is she's been hiding, too, like the thing that she hid under the bed a while back, and she fucking refuses to tell him. She still is like, no, I'm not.
She also
giving you
doesn't
that.
know what it is.
She does tell him that, like, it's a gift for Selena Sadarthian from a woman kept imprisoned in Morath, who waited a long time to repay her for a past kindness. More than that, I don't know. And she refuses to let him see it. Because he, like, wants to inspect it. Which is great that she doesn't fucking let him see it, because it's a word stone, and he'd definitely figure that out pretty fucking fast, so...
Yeah. He notes, a gift for an assassin, not the queen. Perhaps nothing of note, but let me see it. She's like,
but
no.
Also, she's like, no, I'm not giving it to you.
They stared at each other down. I just thought, like, she goes no, and they're, like, staring at each other, like, who's gonna break first? And he does.
It's sure as shit not Elide.
But I really liked, I like I love their interactions together.
Yeah.
So she tells him off, tells him no too afterwards. And then she gives him, like, the truth about her. Mm-hmm. She pretty much is like, Marion is my mother, and goes into detail of her life. Pretty much says, I watched my mother die to save Aelin Galathinius. My uncle then let my father die, like, in front of me, and then my uncle took me. He then took, like, the crown or whatever of their...
Took her title. Yeah.
The
Locked
lord
her in a tower.
Locked her in a tower for her entire life. She broke her foot at some point, and, like, he wouldn't let healers come in because he thought that they were gonna, like, take her or something, like, let her out.
Mhm.
He chained her ankles so that she couldn't run. Like, all of these things, he then gives her these details. He, of course, is pissed and probably has more reason to want to kill Vernon now than he ever has. And so do we all.
He makes like a comment in his head at one point too that it's like, I'm not just taking this like random woman to Aelin. Like, he's bringing her a very powerful ally, and like is pissed that he got tricked into that. And Elide says at one point, she's like, I have no lance, I have no money, I have nothing to actually offer her. I just need to go. Like, there's nothing, she has no armies. Like, she's not, yeah, she technically is like the Lady of Paranth, but like Vernon holds everything. So like she doesn't have shit.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, if I'm still alive, I'm sure as shit not gonna sit around and do nothing. I'm gonna go find Aelin.
Yeah. She says, if only to keep just one girl, just one, from ever enduring what I did.
She's too pure for this world.
He let the truth in her words sink into him, let them adjust his view of her and his plans. And we're like, ha ha, yes, finally, he's breaking. He's breaking a little bit more. And then he shares a lot about himself, which I did not expect, even a little bit. He pretty much says, I'm a 500-year-old fae. I am bloodsworn to Queen Maeve of the fae. I'm her second in command. I've done terrible things. I will probably do more terrible things. I was a bastard child on the streets of Doranel. I pretty much was, like, brought in because my talents were different and Maeve noticed it. I can kill faster. I can sense death when it's near. He pretty much shares that he thinks that his magic is death itself.
Yeah.
Which was given to him by Hellas. There's just all this. He is like, I'm in these lands on behalf of my queen. They might as well, I came without permission and they might as well hunt and kill me. Like, all of these things that he's sharing. And then he kind of goes, I should probably stop. I'm giving her a lot of information.
He's getting carried away.
There was more, but Elide had remaining secrets too. They'd offered each other enough for now. I just like this. She asks if he has friends or family. He says no. And she says we're the same in that regard.
Yeah.
There's just, that's when he gives the tidbit of like, Nick and Umbriel unfortunately realized you and I are perhaps not what we seem. Should we leave? Nah, they'll keep our secrets.
Out of fear.
Yeah. They decide
but they
basically
basically
can stay a
both
little bit
agree, like, they can stay, but they need to figure out, like, what their next move is, because they can't stay for too long. They're going to need to move somewhere else, especially if Ilkin have now found them. So they, like, basically are like, all right, whatever. We're going to bed. We can stay. We don't have to leave right now. Lorcan watched her limp into the night without so much as a backward glance at him, and he wondered what the hell he was doing. He has no control when it comes to her. He's like, what the fuck? He's gonna follow her around like a goddamn puppy dog. It's great. He's a terrifying German Shepherd who has no control over what he's doing at this point.
We love it.
It's great. Lorcan has some humanity, but only
for Elide.
When it evolves with Elide. That's it.
Which I'm very okay with. I read that like last scene because it talks about her like limping off, and I was like, if he does some shit where he lifts her leg or something, I would have cried.
If it had said something like, he braced it and wondered what the hell he was doing, I would have been like, fuck! God damn it. That shit hits hard.
So good. Ugh.
So many things happened. And we still have, like, there's 10 more chapters of just Empire of Storms for next episode.
Yes. Next episode is also just Empire of Storms. So, like, shit's still gonna be hitting the fan. We'll figure that out.
This is the big
When we get
Empire
to
of
it.
Storms chunk in the tandem read.
Yeah.
Very, very good.
It's my favorite so far, but I also love this kind of shit. This is my shit. The backstory and all that is fine, and
It's
I
a good
understand why
time.
we have to read it. But give me the action, give me the hard decisions, give me all of it. Thank you so much for checking out our part 7 of our tandem read. We are on a ride, and we appreciate you all being here with us. We hope that you enjoyed your time here. You can find us at the Smut Peddlers on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok for additional content.
Thanks, guys. Goodbye.
Bye!